Hey everybody, Derek Brown here, and this is my insider sax stuff, which I have some tips and tricks that I've learned throughout my professional career as a saxophonist. Some that are very random, some that are very helpful, hopefully. Today is going to be talking about various sax modifications or enhancers that I have used, often for my quirky style that I call beatbox sax. And now you can find lots of things, various types of sax enhancers, things like extenders for the palm keys if you have really big hands. I used to do that. Things like a different size thumb rest, various things like that that just kind of help you play the instrument in a traditional way, but help you play it better or more comfortably. For me, if you know my music, I like to explore and I like to experiment on the saxophone, both sonically, but also kind of physically on the horn. I love this P.Mauriat horn. I know it looks like it's really old because I ding it up really well a lot and I scratch it, but it's only a few years old, and it's treated me very, very well on long tours like this one, where I'm on the road for months on end, and it does totally fine. That being said, a lot of the stuff, I have to say, a big disclaimer to the younger sax players out there or anyone renting an instrument. Of course, don't do any of these things to a rented instrument. And if you are doing it to one that you own and you're young and you're still living with your parents, talk to them first about doing any of this stuff. Some of these might be a little more extreme than others. The most basic one that I use all the time involves my thumb hook. And so I used to have a Mark VI, Selmer Mark VI horn, and it just had a plastic thumb hook. And I quickly realized, oh, hey, my right thumb's not doing anything. Maybe I could actually get sound out of that. Now I have a whole tutorial, a couple of them, all on rings and different ways of playing rhythms on the thumb hook. So check that out in the Beatbox Sax Tutorials Volume 2. But just to say, you can totally replace these things. You can unscrew it, and you can take off your plastic one, and you can put on a metal one. This P.Mauriat has a nice metal one already on it. You can see I've worn it down. But this is actually a mod. I've actually sawed it down. It started off looking like this size. Good, nice support. And then you can see now it's become that. I actually sawed it off, and I've still worn it down a little bit. Another thing you can see is I removed this little guard there. That gives me more room for my thumb when I'm hitting that. Once again, on that tutorial with the rings, you can see various things about how I do all sorts of stuff with that, as well as some of these other things. Moving right along, a recent one I've done is I've carved ridges in here, just with like just a filer, just kind of one of those metal filers. And you can see if I get really close, you can see these ridges. I made little kind of triangles there, ridges, so that I can kind of make this weirdo sound like in South American music. So this kind of like the very opening sounds you hear on my on this album 50/50. I go. So that's just kind of fun. I'm noticing that does wear down pretty fast, so I might need to get more of these. Whatever, take it or leave it. Okay, other things I hit with the ring. I mean, the most noticeable one on here is this piece of plastic. This was tubing that I got from a hardware store. Maybe it was, a couple centimeters thick, maybe 1 centimeter. I split the end and I just attached 2 pieces on here. That is strictly for sound when I'm kind of doing this stuff on the horn. I could have just left it, but I wanted more of a variety of sound when I hit the bell versus this. So that's all that was, just super glued on there, nothing big. Now here's a big one. With this other horn, I was practicing making these kind of really loud percussive sounds with rings. And you can see I have 2 rings. I talk about those in the ring episodes of the Beatbox Sax tutorials. And I was playing on the bell, and I was doing this. Or doing this kind of scraping. And yes, that I was realizing, not only was I denting the bell a little bit, but I was starting to dent right here when I was getting this sound. So I went to my repairman in Chicago at PM Woodwinds, and they put on this strip, which I believe is from like a Barry sax, just like a guard that would normally go down here. And they welded this sucker on here, and they actually kind of curved it up, so they did a nice job there. And so I've been doing this now for years, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. Yes, you can see some denting up there. For me, go big or go home, whatever. So that's one. Another one is that's not so noticeable is I actually added 2 protective strips on the bottom end of this. There's normally just one, and if you look really close, you can see there's actually some layers. There's actually 2 added on. That I just did for strength and not sound at all. So when I bang it on the floor, like I was doing in the opening, it's not going to dent that. And I've been playing with this. Yes, it's flattened a little bit, but I don't think the tubing inside has been damaged. Once again, take it or leave it. Don't get mad at me if you damage your horn, but that was a cool thing. A couple of other things. On one of my songs, when I do my song Chameleon Live, I usually use this little protector here that kind of protects the innards of the horn. Workings right there. I unscrewed one of these so I can pull it back. And I actually put these loose screws, and I have little washers on the other sides. And I even I glued a couple of weights on there so I can actually get this little vibra-slap sound. That one always gets some weird looks. And yes, I don't use this all the time, but so I can go like... I'm already noticing it's starting to crack there, so might need to get another one. Like I said, do this at your own risk. Other little things I've done here and there. I mentioned this in one of the Beatbox tutorials when I do these kind of glissando squeals or overtone squeals. This high F sharp key, which I love for that. Where I'm pressing that, you can check out that video. This, I want to be able to press this with the inside of the finger, kind of like a palm key. I don't want to have to pull my finger back and press it. So if I could go, or if you're just going high F sharps, which I don't use that fingering, but you don't want to have to, if you had to go from a D, you'd have to lift up. And what if you need to return a D? It wouldn't work. It's better, I think, if you could just tilt that finger down. So I tilted I just bent that sucker. Just bent that, I kind of angled it over, found the right angle. I even put a little bit of cork. I'd recommend, you know, you can buy little kits of various sizes of cork, super glue. I use that stuff all the time. So that makes that so I can hit it. Then there's some spots where I've just done various experiments, like this metal there, that metal there, blah, blah, blah. You can buy metal versions of this. I sometimes slap that with my ring on some of these songs. The sky's the limit. Now, of course, you can see I haven't quite gone as far as like adding cymbals or drums onto this thing. I don't know. I like the idea of it looking like a horn. So it's like one guy on stage with a horn, but whatever. If you want to go as far as like gluing on cymbals and whatever, go for it. But those are kind of the modifications that I have done. I've also done things like just kind of twisting that, angling it to where it's best for me. Do that. Be very careful. Make sure you know what you want to do before. Maybe have a repair person do it, or your parent if you're young. And just making it work best for me. That's it. So, yeah. Long live experimentation. Not everything's going to work. You have to decide for yourself if the risk is worth it. And parents, don't be mad at me. But that's all. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next time.